Hello, lovelies. Today we are taking a look at Last Days in the Desert. This is a 2016 film starring Ewan McGregor. I really enjoyed this one. This is a minimal cast, so obviously keeping with our Holy Week theme, this would be the period in time when Jesus or Yeshua was traveling through the desert during those 40 days. So what I really liked about this film is it didn't really focus too much on the religious aspect. I read into it more as a discussion with the self. So we have Yeshua, as he is referred to in this film. He is traveling through the desert. Very early on in the film, he runs across an elderly woman and he offers her some water, and it doesn't really take too long before we realize, well, this is not a usual woman. There's something very different about her. And as he is surprised, or he kind of takes a step back, she laughs and he goes on about his way. It doesn't take long before the opponent reappears, this time having taken his own form. This is why I kind of just describe the film as being more a discussion of the self. It's more like, the way I chose to interpret this is he's actually doing self-examination or self-exploration. He's doing self-evaluation, correction, and just really trying to figure things out and get things in order. And I really don't read into anything too antagonistic, but that's open to interpretation. But I think it was a very well done story, a very well done film. The desert scenes, even though obviously it's nothing but sand and rock, but they do look lovely. And it's a very minimal cast, so it's not long before Yeshua happens upon a tent, and it is a family, a young boy, an older man, and a sickly mother. And it's really not too long before he gets kind of pulled into their, kind of like their family issues. The boy is unhappy. He doesn't want to live in the desert. He wants to leave and make a life for himself in Jerusalem. The mother, who doesn't really want her son to stay there either. She wants him to go off and learn a trade, preferably in Jerusalem, but she wants him to go off into the world, same as he does. The father is the only one who really wants the boy to stay and help care for the mother. And in the father's opinion, once mom is gone, he's pretty much just bound to the desert. It's like wherever your family is buried, that's where you are to remain. But the wager here becomes finding a reasonable solution that would be acceptable to all three parties. So how is Yeshua supposed to resolve this? Initially, he was just going to stay there for the night, rest, sleep, and leave the next day. And for some odd reason, he comes back. Reasons which are really not discussed with the audience, but we get to know the family dynamic a lot better, and it's very good character development. We get to learn about the boy's interests. We learn about the father and how he came to be there. We come to find that the mother is actually the second wife, the first wife who actually also passed away. And one would question, well, what on earth did he do to deserve this? Why does he keep losing spouses? Nothing. It's just a thing that happens. But Yeshua stays, and they're building a home together. And at one point in time, there's a scene in the film where they want to lower the boy down so that he can cut into the rock. They're looking for something very specific. If they find what they need, then it would change the game altogether. So we also find out the boy is afraid of heights, so he does not want to go. The father is very stern and tries to force him into this, and Yeshua says, no, I'll go, I'll do it, just leave him be. And eventually the father relents and says, no, I'll do it, which, okay, well, that's probably one of the more reasonable or kindly things the father has done that I observed in the film. And as he's being lowered, obviously there is an accident and the father perishes. So we now have the supporter, the person who is actually maintaining this family, is gone. So we now have a young boy and a sickly mother who at one point in the film began to claim that she was feeling better, that she thought she was getting over it. According to her, her mother had this sickness and eventually got better. Whether or not this is true is open to speculation. She probably could have just said this just to make the boy feel better, but we find out that there was an alternate possibility for this family. Had Yeshua not stopped there, the family would have continued on as they were. The boy would have tried to be as obedient as possible, and eventually in a fit of rage would have killed his father and eventually been taken to the authorities and hanged. So in this alternate reality, the one that Yeshua had a handle in, the father winds up dying due to no fault of anyone, but this leaves the mother and the son without a provider. The mother gives her blessing for the boy to go, and which is difficult because without a father's blessing, how can one really have, I guess, a successful or a fruitful journey, according to the boy, of course. But ultimately, he does make his way. So in one sense, you can kind of say that, yes, you can say that some reasonable resolution was found. But it's very interesting to me, just the way the characters all just interact with one another. It's a very good character study. I think it was a very good story, at least as far as human nature and how one can adapt and change. Not necessarily religion heavy, but centered on or loosely based off of a biblical event. And I thought it was a very good story. It definitely does open up a lot of doorways for discussion and analysis. Of course, Ewan McGregor, who plays Yeshua, I think he did extremely well in the part, but I really have no complaints about the story. If you prefer more character interaction, things like that, this may not be the film for you, but I think as far as internalizing, even philosophizing, I know I mispronounced that, but I think it's a very good film. It's a very good launch pad for discussion. And of course, once again, I would encourage you to take a look at this one if it's a film that interests you. But that is all I have for you guys for today, and I will talk to you later.